These are combs, not for your hair, because that would hurt. They're used for combing wool. When you cut the wool off of the sheep, you need to align all the fibers, and so they take these combs and they rake the wool through that, and it aligns all the fibers. Okay? But they did have combs for hair like this, and you find many different varieties, usually out of wood or ivory. This particular comb, you can see it has two different sizes of teeth. And so just looking at it, you think, well, this is for getting the tangles out, and this is for styling it, getting it just right. Because, you know, if you have combs, pocket combs today, they have wide teeth and narrow teeth and so on. And that makes sense. And they believed that until they began to do a microscopic study on the tines here, these very delicate tines, and they found the egg cases of lice. They found them on this side, lots of lice egg casings, but nothing on this side. So that changed their interpretation. This is for combing your hair, and this is for debugging it, which makes sense. You rake this through your hair 4 or 5 times, you get rid of maybe 60, 70% of all the insects. We don't like to think about it, but yeah, that's another aspect of hygiene in the ancient world. Everybody had, pretty much everybody had lice, even the kings and queens. It wasn't a matter whether you had it or not. It was more how much that you have. So if you need to be thankful for something, that will be worth it. Living during a time of medicated soaps. All right. This is the earliest book. Like I mentioned before, most of the writing was done on tablets or scrolls. However, in Roman times, they began to develop the concept of the book or the codex. This is called a diptych. It's the early sort of notepad, and books or codex would develop from the diptych. In this case, you have ivory hinges and two pages, the covers essentially. On the inside, there's a very shallow indentation, and you can see the hatch marks. That's to help hold the wax. So they put a thin coating of wax there, and then they take a stylus and they carve the message into the wax. And then you send it to whoever you want to send it to. It's like an email. They get it, they read the message, and they put it near a candle flame, and it melts the wax. And then they write into it, like an Etch-a-Sketch. And they write into it, and they send it back. So it's like a notepad. Several versions of this. Here's another diptych. Here's another with several pages. But eventually this would develop into the book, the codex. In my Roman world class, I have you read some of Ovid's Ars Amatoria, The Art of Love. He's talking about how to seduce women. And one of the passages, he mentions that whenever you send a message to a girl you're trying to seduce with the diptych, you need to be very careful that you thoroughly melt it before you carve your love letter, because if you're sending love letters to several different women, they've learned that they can hold it up to the light and they can actually read the message underneath if you don't melt it thoroughly. This is first century, AD, Ovid. So even then they had, reading people's emails and that kind of thing. It's important that you hide the evidence, so to speak. Idols were also made out of wood. This is Anubis, the jackal god. This is a Neolithic image. You can tell it's Neolithic by the big nose. Big eyes, big nose for Neolithic. But it's made out of wood.